I'm Josh Kelly, welterweight, currently 6-0, fighting for the Commonwealth title. Follow Sport Icons.
So this weekend will mark the return of PBK Josh Kelly when he takes on the welterweight European champion in David Avanesyan. David Avanesyan, of course, had 30 fights, 3 of those defeats, only 1 stoppage and a draw. In fact, his 1 stoppage, I believe it was at Kavaliauskas, wasn't it? Where he stopped David Avanesyan, but then Kavaliauskas went on and fought Terence Crawford for the WBO welterweight world title. Of course, he ended up getting stopped himself by Crawford. Josh Kelly, he's only had 11 fights. 10 wins, 1 draw. That draw, of course, was against Robinson at Madison Square Garden. Now, going by what a lot of people say online, a lot of people seem to think that David Avanesyan is going to absolutely smoke Josh Kelly. People saying, oh, it's too early for Josh Kelly. He's only had 11 fights, yada, yada, yada. He's overrated, whatever it may be. I'm opposite to that. Maybe I'm a little biased. Of course, he's from my neck of the woods up here in the northeast. I mean, I'm from Newcastle. He's from Sunderland. I've met him quite a few times, interviewed him, of course, along with his trainer, Adam Booth. With Adam Booth, he threw a mock punch at me because I kept calling him a Josh Kelly fanboy. Hey, it is what it is. It's all fun and games. But I think that Josh Kelly, again, going by online comments, I'm in the minority where I believe Josh Kelly will go on to do great things in boxing. I'm very, very proud of Josh, very, very proud of him. And I do believe that he will go on to do excellent stuff in the welterweight division, maybe super welterweight, because I do worry when he stands on the scales, he does look very, very drained. I stood next to him when he had his weigh-in at the Metro Centre up here, and he did look very, very drained. And he had to rehydrate himself immediately after, of course, eating a Tupperware box full of rice with a bit of salt on there. But I think that this is the kind of fight where Josh Kelly can show us what we've seen glimpses of in the past. We've seen little snippets of things that he can do. And we've heard Adam Booth say time and time again, and of course he said to me as well, that when he gets an opponent where there's an element of, oh, it could lose this one, you're going to see the best of Josh Kelly. So I hope this is the kind of fight to happen, because I do believe that Josh Kelly, he's got all the ability in the world. He really does. I do wish that he would at times not showboat as much. I mean, I've said this to him as well, where showboating, for me, there's a time and a place for it. And the time where it's not really for it is when your back is up against the ropes and you're just rope-a-doping your opponent. Because at some point, you're going to make one slight adjustment wrong and you're going to get clipped. I don't care who you are, it's going to happen at some point. So I do hope that he takes this one a bit more serious, doesn't concentrate on the showboating so much, and just wins the rounds. If the stoppage comes, great. But David Avanesyan, he's very, very well seasoned, that's for sure. Which is why I think a lot of people are saying that this is too early for Josh Kelly. Of course, this fight's been on, off for the longest time. But a lot of people are saying that this is too early because Josh Kelly, he's only had 11 fights compared to a seasoned David Avanesyan, where David Avanesyan would have seen most styles, whereas Josh Kelly, not so much. But Josh Kelly, of course, he is the former European welterweight champion. I was there ringside watching him win that belt against that Australian fella, I forgot his name. But I think he can dominate and put on a very good performance against David Avanesyan. Don't get me wrong, I think David Avanesyan is a very, very good fighter, and it wouldn't surprise me if he beat Josh Kelly, but touch wood, that doesn't happen. I really don't want to see Josh Kelly lose. Of course I don't. There's no real excuse of inactivity for Josh Kelly because David Avanesyan, last time he fought, was only a week apart from Josh Kelly. So they've both been out of the ring for the same amount of time. So this is a fight, it's got that bit of hype about it. It's got this bit of needle where for some reason they don't quite like each other. Well, I say for some reason, just go back and look at some of the past press conferences, the fact that the fight's on, it's off, and David Avanesyan's team is blaming Josh Kelly's team for the fight not happening. That is what it is. It's all in the past. But now this fight's here. Hopefully they both make weight, no problem, tomorrow. And they put on a very good fight. In fact, well, to be honest with you, I don't really care if the fight's good or not. I just want to see Josh Kelly win that fight, become European champion in only his 12th fight. Because I do think people do forget where people talk about Josh Kelly, say, oh, there's no way he can hang with a Crawford or a Pacquiao or a Spence or a Thurman or a Mikey Garcia, yada, yada, yada. Well, he's only had 11 fights. You name me anybody else out there who's had 11 fights that could. I know people were picking for the future of that division to be like a Virgil Ortiz or whatever it may be. Maybe. But for me, I'm hoping that will be Josh Kelly. after this fight, all going well, we'll end up seeing take on a Conor Benn and things like that. But that's the point, is that there's always been talk about what's next for Josh Kelly. He beats this guy, when's he going to fight Conor Benn? We know Eddie Hearn, he's speaking about potentially Josh Kelly fighting a Kell Brook and Conor Benn fighting a Amir Khan, and then the winners fight each other and all that kind of thing, which would be great if that happens, but he needs to be concentrating on David Avanesyan, because David Avanesyan is clearly a European level fighter, maybe even a fringe world level fighter. Again, arguable, or there again, maybe somewhat obvious, because of course he is European champion. But it's a very, very tough test. David Avanesyan is a very, very good fighter. He's going to come forward, that's for sure. Or at least people expect him to, where he's going to do what he always does, which is come forward and fight and throw bombs and just put on constant pressure. Josh Kelly, of course, he's very quick with his feet. People expect him to be on the back foot and just picking away at him at the best of times, until David Avanesyan cuts him off. I think that's what a lot of people are predicting. But don't be surprised if we see a different David Avanesyan to surprise Josh Kelly, where actually he's going to be the one that's going to be doing some boxing, inviting Josh Kelly on, so he's the pressure fighter. So don't be surprised if that happens. Anyway, I hope Josh Kelly wins. I believe he will win. In fact, I believe that he beats him on points or a late stoppage. I mean, hopefully early stoppage, okay, just so I can get off the edge of my seat, where hopefully David Avanesyan just walks onto a big punch and Josh Kelly just flatlines him. Hopefully. But I understand David Avanesyan, of course, he is a UK resident. He is from Russia and that, of course. But he does have a very, very big fan base. And a lot of people here in the UK want David Avanesyan to beat him. I don't quite know why people dislike Josh Kelly. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the showboating. Maybe they think he's going over the top with it. Hey, it is what it is. And the only way Josh Kelly can get people online with myself, who says, I believe that he will go on to do great things, is by showing it in the ring. That's the only way he could possibly do it. But I'm looking forward to this fight. I think he's an exceptional fighter. Win, lose or draw, I'm going to be supporting Josh Kelly anyway, but I do think that he will become the new European welterweight champion. And again, hopefully Sky Sports don't use this as a way to go totally against their fighter in Josh Kelly. They seem to be doing it quite a lot lately, where they're going over the top by saying, hey, look, we're not biased, and literally going the complete opposite way. Anyway, if they get to that, I'll just mute the commentary. Anyway, that's my thoughts. You drop me yours, click thumbs up, subscribe, catch you all in the next video.